Well, the Carolina Hurricanes are in Plymouth at Compuware Arena practicing before their game tomorrow night with the Detroit Red Wings. It's my pleasure to bring in John Forslund, the Hurricanes television voice. You also see him on Versus. And John, that's got to be a nice kind of gig for you, working for the Hurricanes and then working the national network with Versus. How did that all come about?
Well, basically, Pete, it was the NHL, forged their deal with Versus, and what Versus is able to do is reach out to some of the teams and take their broadcasters, and it's a compliment to be asked, number one, but it's also professionally challenging and a lot of fun to go around the league and call the national games. But my heart is here with this team, and it always has been, and it's great to be here in Plymouth, I'll tell you that.
Hurricanes on a bit of a roll. They've won three in a row, and I know they're in dire straits in the Eastern Conference, but can they dig themselves out and maybe make a playoff spot?
I think so, because the one thing about this team is the character that they have and the will that they've displayed all year, and even in their worst of times, the work ethic has never been in question. So I think that's in place. Goaltending is also in place, and if Cam Ward can continue to play the way he's playing right now, around the league, that's the X factor. If you have goaltending, you're going to be in games, you're going to be in position to win games, and they kind of feed off whatever he does. So I believe that you take baby steps, getting closer to Toronto now in a big win last night. You make one step up the ladder, then the next team's your next target, and so on. But you look at the group that's right now ahead of them, the Hurricanes man-for-man match up extremely well, and anything's possible.
You talk about X factors. Johnny Pitkanen leads, I guess, the NHL in ice time.
Yes,
he's the real deal, isn't he?
Well, when you take 2-minute shifts, sometimes you're gonna lead the league at ice time. But he's a special player. He sees the ice better than most. He skates extremely well. He moves up in the offensive play, but also has the ability to come all the way back very quickly, so he's very seldom out of position. He competes harder than people give him credit for. We found that out in the playoffs last year. When you go a couple of rounds, 7 games deep, you find out what guys really compete under the most pressure, and he was able to withstand that test. So he's a special player, and last night in Toronto he was outstanding.
A special player for a long time, your captain, Rod Brindamore. I know he got off to a rough start, but is he picking it up now as we get in near the second half of the year in the NHL?
Yeah, Pete, he's like a lot of the players that went through a little bit of a confidence issue, and the whole team was in that same malaise for a long time. But now he's playing more. His ice time's in double digits, and he had been scaled back to maybe 3 or 4 minutes a game, which was hard for us to watch that. But he's very much an important part of what goes on within the confines of their locker room, and with a tremendous legacy, as you know. For me, he's the one player in the decade of 2000 that's been able to put the Hurricanes not only competitively on the map, but also in our market. Very important in terms of growing our fan base.
John, one last thing, we'll let you go. Your ownership owns the Whalers.
Yes.
There seems to be a real stability here, and I know there was a lot of talk when Carolina got off to the bad start that maybe there might be changes, but you look around, Paul Maurice is still there, Jim Rutherford is still there. Something to be said for that kind of stability, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely, and I think that's what's so important when you look at the entire organization, starting with Mr. Karmanos and going all the way through, including your team here. I mean, it's very important to have continuity and loyalty. And in professional sports, loyalty is sometimes forgotten because it really is a results business. What have you done for